So this slide shows how bad it is, the soil erosion. This happens in 1920s to 1930s. If you think about this event with the virus, the coronavirus pandemic, they do have some similarities. Um, in this case, the government have to step in to interfere, and the government have to inject money, right? The stimulus check, and have to help people pay their mortgage, help people to pay their livestocks, and they have to settle for a lot of cases that payment is behind. And so just to keep people stay. Um, I'm talking about the soil erosion here. And because of the land is barren and most people are moving away and the government have to step in to pay money to pay for their stay in the area. Because if they do not stay, eventually this big piece of land will become desert. So the soil erosion has very bad consequence. So how do we use our soil? This is a picture showing us the US land used for agricultural purposes. And 44% is not suitable for raising crops. This is all the land in the United States, and about half is not supporting the raising of crops. And the cropland crops in good years only 12%, and 42% is farmable. We can plant crops on, and only 2% is unlimited use. And we wish all the land is like that, unlimited. We don't have to give them breaks but unfortunately, that's only 2%. So half of the land is not usable for crop. So to manage our soil, right, because our soil resources are limited, to manage our soil and enhance and maintain the quality of the soil, there are several things we can do. We can enhance organic matter. Sometimes we use fertilizers, but not all cases is necessary. And we avoid excessive tillage and manage pests and nutrients efficiently. And for the pest management, have an activity, after class activity. You will find out the pest management is very interesting. It's not like you spray pesticide that will keep the pest away. Probably that activity is in the next chapter, but it is some kind of science. It's not as straightforward as we think about. And we definitely want to prevent soil compaction. Remember that the good aeration is good health of the soil, and keep the ground covered, not too much water lost or not too much soil eroded. Diversify cropping systems. We want to mix the crops. So when the pests come, it will not eat all the crops, and many crops, they benefit each other. So there's a few things we can do for the novel farming to prevent soil erosion. Contour farming is tilling at the right angles to the slope of the land to prevent sliding and to prevent loss of the soil. And remember the mountain, just the slide of the mountain soil and the soil by the river. I just showed to you, and this type of farming is very effectively prevent that from happening. And it's very useful on gentle slopes. And that is one of the simplest methods for preventing soil erosion. And the strip farming looks like this. And if you check out this video on the YouTube, that helps you understand what is strip farming. Strip farming is a practice of alternating strips of closely sown crops to slow water flow and increase water absorption. And last semester, their student telling me generations of her family are farmers, and they don't know exact science of the plants, but they know the soybeans. If you plant the soybeans along other crops that benefit the other crops, and maybe because of the nitrogen fixing bacteria leaving the roots of the soybean plants or something like that, it's like a natural fertilizer for the soil. And terracing is a practice of constructing level areas at the right angles to the slope to retain water. So this applies to the very steep slopes. It is very expensive because you can see you have to do the whole landscape like this, but it is very effective and it is very good for very steep land. Waterways are windbreaks, very effective too. They are depressions in sloping land where water collects and flows off the land, channels movement of the water, and windbreaks are planting of trees or plants that protect bare soil from full force of the wind and reduce velocity, decrease the amount of the soil that can be carried. So those are very effective ways to prevent soil erosion. And the left picture is one example of the waterways, and the right side is another example. When we have waterways and the plants grow along the water, so that helps to retain the soil. The plants help to retain the soil. If we don't have water, it becomes dry and the plants do not grow, and the water exposed to the air and prone to erosion. And the windbreaks look like this. Sometimes only one strip of the plants can prevent the soil erosion. It doesn't look much, right? But it is effective. Of course, this is more effective than this, but plant something, having something on the soil is better than nothing. So compare the conventional versus conservation tillage. The conventional methods do have some positive effects, such as plowing that help the aeration of the soil and the leach nutrients brought to surface and the cooler dark soil. So it makes the temperature of different layers of the soil. And the negative effects of plowing the conventional tilling is such as increased erosion via wind or water, and its added expense to the farmers. So everything has negative and positive effects. We want to balance those negative and positive sides. Reduced tillage is practice that uses less cultivation to control weeds, and generally leaves 15 to 30% of the soil. So the soil is well covered with crop residue after planting, and it brings a lot of positive effects. And wildlife gain winter food and cover, less runoff, lower fuel consumption, and less soil compaction. So if you do not plow the soil too much, those are the benefits. And the drawback is if you if